That morning I was in full uniform, ribbons pinned, sitting quietly outside a VA clinic, doing nothing. Then in 3 seconds, a police officer walked up, called me boy, and pulled a taser straight into my chest. Under an American flag waving right above me. And that's when I realized, even here, at home, I still had to fight to be treated like a real soldier. I reached Cedar Bluff on a morning when the light was a sharpened blade, bright but not hot. The American flag out front breathed just enough to promise a gentle wind all day. I eased my modified pickup into the handicap slot, killed the engine, and set the brake as if honoring an old ritual. The transfer from driver's seat to chair was its familiar sequence: pivot, brace, lower. Nothing dramatic, just a dance my steel spine knows by heart. Atlas, dark-coated, broad-shouldered, steady-eyed, hopped down and took his post at my left knee, turning habit into honor. Rosa at the desk looked up as the doors parted, wearing that smile that's both warm and stern. Doctor's running a bit behind, Commander. Inside or the shade? Shade me like a houseplant, Rosa. She laughed and waved me outside where the building's shadow felt like a promise kept. I parked near the ramp, left the path clear, and opened my tablet. The 1,100 training slides waited, room entry sequences, muzzle discipline, hand signals, the boring details that only become fascinating when someone forgets them and dies. I texted Jake, my lieutenant, headed over after consult. Keep them from escaping. He replied, recruits nervous, sir. Please be mean. I smiled, the quiet smile of someone who hurts but still loves that the world has rules worth caring about. Some mornings my body reminds me the IED won more rounds than I like to admit. That day wasn't the worst, the nerves hummed like insects in tall grass but stayed in a range I've learned to call ordinary. I straightened the ribbons not out of vanity but discipline: Bronze Star, Navy Cross, Purple Heart. Others recite them like a rhyme about glory. I pronounce them as the names of faces. 9:16. I didn't check a watch, some movements announced themselves. The black and white cut into the lot like someone not looking for an address but a way to flank. Slow enough to be casual, extra enough to be a message. Atlas lifted his head and set it back down, not a growl, not a pull, a professional recognizing something worth noting but not yet worth worrying about. 2 officers stepped out. The older one wore the body language of a man used to being the loudest voice, chin forward, chest out, hand parked on the belt as a prelude. The younger one's eyes skittered, not with fear, but with ambition. They came straight at me as if I were a process to terminate. No greeting. We got a call about loitering, the older said, like reading from a form already filled. I have an appointment. Doctor's a bit behind. I'm waiting here. You got ID to prove that? I produced the Navy ID, VA card, appointment sheet, 3 small pieces of life, enough to plant a flag that said I belong here. He glanced like punching a ticket before tearing it. Stolen valor's a serious offense, he announced louder than necessary, feeding an invisible crowd. The younger chuckled, special ops? You can't even stand. Atlas slid 2 inches closer, planting himself between my chair and their polished boots without showing a tooth, a living wall made of training. You're at a federal medical facility, I reminded him, calm. I'm a scheduled patient. You're outside your jurisdiction. Your animal's getting aggressive, he said. Control that dog or we'll have a problem. He's working, I answered. And the problem isn't over here. The battlefield teaches you to read like wind. The tiny cry of a challenged ego arrives like ozone before a storm. I felt the line from conversation to performance get crossed. Listen to me, boy. The word fell like a stone into a deep well, its echo touching rungs of history we try not to name. His hand slid lower on the belt. I saw the grip, the clip, the scenarios I'd taught recruits: control, intimidate, frame. Hands where I can see them, he barked, speaking over me. No, you're under arrest. No bridge between talk and act, just the dry click of a switch and a white punch to my chest. 50,000 volts turned my body into a fist someone else was clenching. My jaw locked. Fingers curled. Head dropped. People ask what a taser feels like when your spine is half scrap. I tell them it's how memory becomes molten metal. Atlas jolted half a step, then froze, trained to wait. I heard the man's voice, triumphant and hollow. That's what happens when you don't follow orders, boy. The worst part wasn't electricity. It was humiliation, knowing I was in uniform under a flag, in front of a sign that read Department of Veterans Affairs, yet treated like garbage. Some moments teach you a nation is not a banner or an anthem, but the look in the eyes of people with badges when you are at your weakest. The automatic doors shoved themselves open on righteous anger. Rosa's voice came first. "What are you doing to my patient?" Behind her was Dr. Navarro's white coat, hair pinned back, phone recording. She moved like someone who had just crossed a line no one drew but her. "He's on my schedule. Your names and badge numbers, now." VA security poured out next. Chief Alvarez's voice was clipped steel. "You're using force on federal property without coordination. Step away and present identification." Malloy stammered. "We received a call, suspicious subject." "Alvarez, what call code?" The pause that followed was long enough to hear an engine down the street. My phone buzzed. Capped, heart on the screen. "Commander Reed," she said, "Knifecom, did you say taser on VA property?" "Affirmative, ma'am." "Document everything. Do not engage. We are elevating." From that moment, the small parking lot changed size. It became a map of jurisdictions and accountability. I still hurt, still humiliated, but bigger forces were moving, forces that appear whenever someone finally says, "Enough." Within 20 minutes, the lot filled, investigators, extra security, administrators. Malloy and Hodge were escorted off-site. I was guided inside. Atlas stayed at my knee. When Dr. Navarro told a nurse, "This is assault on a federal patient," I knew the machine had started turning. By noon I signed a report. Chief Alvarez said, "Don't worry, sir. We've escalated this to Washington." On the other end, that call spread faster than a grass fire. That afternoon the Springfield FBI office received notice, possible civil rights violation under federal jurisdiction. A 3-person team was dispatched before sunset. When they entered the VA lobby, I was sitting on a metal bench, Atlas's head on my lap. "Commander Reed?" "Special Agent Lang, FBI Civil Rights Division." They didn't need many words, the cameras had already spoken. By nightfall local reporters were outside, tripods, questions. By morning, the headline, "Disabled Navy Commander Tossed Outside VA Clinic." My photo, from last year's ceremony, spread everywhere. Cedar Bluff became the bullseye. Dozens of veterans gathered outside the VA, in wheelchairs, with flags and scars. No chance, they just sat. A sign read, "We served. We deserve respect." While social media argued, the FBI pieced together footage. The gas station camera showed number 911 call, no disturbance, just a patrol car circling, stopping, approaching. Agent Lang watched the clip and said, "They initiated contact, unprovoked." The phrase "we feared for our safety" died on that screen. 2 days later came the federal indictment, deprivation of rights under color of law. When I saw their faces on TV, I didn't feel revenge, only that justice might be real again. The mayor convened emergency meetings, lawyers whispered misunderstanding, until someone said, "The gas station video has audio." Silence ended that strategy. Letters and emails flooded in from vets nationwide, stories of being denied service because they didn't look military, of being accused of faking disability. My case had become a symbol, not because I was special, but because it was the last drop in an overfull glass. Rosa told me later, an 80-year-old vet wheeled up and sat all morning. When I asked why, he said, "So they see we're still here." Sometimes silent presence is the loudest way to say we're still here. Some nights, between pain pills and silence, I remember Kandahar. No gunfire, just tires on sand, then white light like someone tearing the sun in half. When I woke, the world had shrunk to half a body and an empty space below. A Navy nurse said, "We couldn't keep your legs, Commander, but we're keeping your rank." That sentence pulled me back. Atlas came months later. The trainer said, "He's smart, but he only listens if he respects you." Perfect match. We spoke a language of patience, trust, and silence. The first time he stopped me from falling, it wasn't strength that saved me, it was presence. The same presence that morning at Cedar Bluff. On the Saturday after the incident, a handwritten letter sat on my doorstep. I was at Kisan. I didn't have cameras, but I was there. "Don't let this disappear like the others." Inside was a map of Cedar Bluff, a red dot at the VA gate. That night an email arrived from a senator's office. "We need you to tell it exactly as you lived it." The story had left town and entered higher ceilings. A week later I rolled into a federal courthouse, cold, bright, echoing. Atlas heeled beside me. Across the aisle stood Malloy and Hodge, staring at the floor. The judge read, "Deprivation of rights under color of law." I felt no triumph, only order restored. Reporters called, emails stacked, headlines multiplied. I answered sparingly. Rosa texted, "The vets still sit outside every morning." "Tell them I hear them," I wrote. One evening a thick envelope arrived, an invitation to testify before the Senate, Veterans' Dignity and Law Enforcement Accountability. I looked at Atlas. "Looks like we'll have to get up early." He tilted his head, understanding more than he should. Congressional hearing rooms aren't churches, but they make you sit straight. When the placard Commander Marcus Reed was placed before me, my hands steadied. Sometimes saying the right name is half of justice. I told the story as a tactical debrief, context, sequence, reactions. I spoke of the word boy used like a weapon, of a trigger pulled without warning, of being welded into my chair yet asked to prove I belonged. A senator asked, "What do you want from us?" "I don't want apology," I said. "I want standards. If an officer lays hands on a veteran in treatment, they must prove an immediate threat, not cite a feeling. Any department taking federal funds must train for real on PTSD, mobility disabilities, and working service dogs. And every community near a VA must have a veteran liaison, someone who speaks this language, before confusion turns to violence." Another senator asked softly, "What about those without cameras?" "They need a doorway to justice that doesn't rely on luck," I said. "That door should swing on policy, not noise." After the hearing I returned to my hotel. For the first time in weeks, I slept like a man who'd crossed a bridge built in the right place. Weeks later a bill appeared with my name, the Reed Veteran Dignity Act. I told an aide, "You can drop my name." She smiled. "Names are mile markers, the road is what matters." Police unions called it handcuffing, veteran groups replied, "It unbinds the conscience, not the hands." I watched the country grind and argue, gears noisy but meshing. Before testimony day, a media advisor said, "Don't get too emotional. Let facts speak." Facts don't cry, I thought. People do. A legal officer asked, if challenged, "What will you do?" "Breathe, count to 4, and speak with the voice of truth, not anger." They flashed slides of hostile questions. "Are you anti-police? Using injury for politics?" I smiled. Dignity doesn't wear a badge or a uniform. It wears a face. Outside the Capitol I saw the Marine statue and understood, every word would remind America not to make those who bled for it prove they deserve respect. Meanwhile the trial of Malloy and Hodge unfolded. Their lawyers pled subjective fear and threat from the dog. The footage said otherwise. Atlas didn't growl. I didn't move. The taser fired like a period at the end of their fiction. On sentencing day rain fell steady. The judge read, 8 years for Malloy, 6 for Hodge, lifetime decertification. No applause, just the rare silence of the right thing happening in the right room. Outside, a reporter asked, "Anything to say to them?" "What needed saying is in the record," I said. Cedar Bluff got a new police chief, a former Marine MP. Her first press conference. "We're not on sides, we're on the side of procedure done right. From today, every officer here will learn to speak to pain, to PTSD, to wheelchairs, To service dogs, the way you speak to a teammate. The VA planted a small garden by the ramp. A bronze plaque read, "Respect isn't charity. It's the bill this country owes to those who paid up front." At the dedication, Rosa slipped a yellow daisy into my hand. Atlas exhaled as if finally granted rest. 1 week after the act was signed, an email arrived. "I'm Staff Sergeant Rivera, USMC, discharged 2015. I was kicked out of a VA lot last year because staff said I didn't look like a vet. I watched your hearing. Thank you for making them look again." I replied, "No thanks needed. I just opened a door others had been banging on for years. Now we hold it open together." Atlas lay under the desk, chin on my leg. Light from the window brushed his collar, a thin thread between past and present. Maybe real justice isn't punishment, it's when people can finally see each other again, not through a lens, but with bare eyes. Months later, on a quiet morning, I returned to Cedar Bluff. No cameras. Just the lot, the flag, the warm tar smell. I parked, transferred, Atlas took position. Through the glass, Rosa waved. "Commander, doctor's on time today." "Good," I said. "The 11 o'clock class won't spare me." I settled under the awning where the shade formed a triangle on the concrete. A passerby patted Atlas. "Good boy." Atlas glanced at me, asking if that word was okay. "That one's okay," I said. By then I'd learned victory isn't doors slamming or headlines shouting. Victory is a normal morning happening normally, everyone remembering their part and respecting everyone else's. I looked up at the flag. In each fold I heard other stories, voices that will never have microphones or news crawlers. For them I whisper, "I see you. If it happened to me, it's happened to many of you. May the road to justice be shorter, brighter, and never again require a storm to turn on the lights." Rosa opened the door and called me in. I rolled forward, passing the wall of thank you cards. One read, "Thank you for reminding them we belong here too." People online still argued about right and wrong, and that's fine. Argument is a right. But here, another right matters more, the right to be seen as human before being asked who are you. Dr. Navarro smiled. "Pain low enough to be mean to the recruits?" "Just enough," I said. She laughed. "Don't be mean. Be precise." Precise, the word of this whole story. Before the door closed, I turned to an invisible camera, the millions of eyes behind stories like mine, and asked, "When there is no spotlight, no anthem, just a tired soldier in a chair outside a clinic, do we treat him as a citizen who paid in advance, or as a problem to be pushed out of frame?" I didn't wait for an answer. The right questions grow like roots, quiet, deep, enduring. Atlas nudged my hand. "Let's go, buddy," I said. The door shut softly, like a promise finally kept.